Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown from caringourway.com, and this is Caregiver Support Live. And I'm here with my co-host, Jennifer Richey. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Denise.
Good to see you.
You
We've
too.
got guests who are joining us live, which is a good reminder if you ever want to join us live and share a challenge with us, we would love it. So we air live on the first Friday of every month at noon Eastern Time. We have a couple questions that we're going to talk about today, some caregiving challenges. We'll share our insights. Before we do that, I just wanted to mention that I saw a preview of a documentary Bradley Cooper produced called Caregiving. And the entire documentary will air on PBS stations on June 24th. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about it. It was kind of interesting. And it's always hard to know what it's going to be like. I'm just going to say it out loud when a celebrity produces something, because oftentimes it's about the celebrity. And what was interesting, at least for the 30 minutes I saw, it was about Bradley Cooper sharing a bit about his story, caring for his dad, and his inspiration for creating the documentary. So far, it's not about him. It's about why he was so inspired after hiring professional caregivers to help care for his dad and after his own personal experience to really shine a light on caregiving and its professional caregivers and its family caregivers. I thought that was really interesting. So we're going to do a watch party on caringourway.com. So we're going to watch the documentary together virtually. You're going to be in your house. Jennifer, you're going to be in your house. I'm going to be in my house. And we're going to gather in our chat room on caringourway.com to share insights and reflections and thoughts and reactions as we watch the documentary. Okay, how does that sound, Jennifer?
That sounds awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah. And
Where is this documentary? Where is it being shown? I
on,
haven't heard about it.
on PBS.
Oh, okay.
So it'll
Nice.
be broadcast on all the local PBS stations on June 24th. And the airtime is 9 a.m. Oh, that's absolutely wrong. 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
9 p.m. Eastern time. In the snippet that we saw, again, it was 30 minutes. It was Bradley Cooper really introducing why he wanted to create this documentary. We followed two family caregivers, both of who are men. And then we learned the history around why some of our social programs don't help those who need them the most, like direct care workers. And it goes all the way back to the 1930s. The thought I had after watching this preview is this is really part one. We need to really look at what part two is going to be after everything shakes out with all the federal cuts, the impacts on programs and services that support family caregivers, what it's going to look like in our communities, because the documentary was made last year and it's all different this year. It's all different this year. I'm curious, Jennifer, what would you like to see in a documentary that reflects what a caregiving experience is like?
Well, it struck me that you said it's about two men caregivers because we don't see that very often. We know they're out there, but we just don't see it. So I'm always like, I want to see the women represented. This is like, I want to see the men represented because I think it's rare, especially young men. I don't know the ages of these folks, but um, and when you talk about like the celebrity factor of it, I think I agree with you. Sometimes I go into things like that a little jaded, like, okay, this is just a, story about them. But if it's a celebrity that can bring it to the masses and like shed some light on it, whereas we're not getting that from anywhere else, it it can do a lot of good.
Yeah,
So yeah, any kind of press that we could get about it that is, honest and not just oh, this is easy. You hire people and you go,
Right.
got a
Yes.
celebrity who has money and can probably hire whoever they want. But let's show the real, the people in low income situations and who are doing it all themselves. And that's what I would want to see, the real stuff.
Yeah, because something that has always stood out to me is exactly what you say about the celebrity stories. They have resources we don't, and they have
Mhm.
access we don't. So
Yeah.
it's not just the resources, but are they really going to sit in an emergency room with their caree for 10 hours?
No.
I think we
Nope.
can be 100% certain that's not going to happen. So their experience is different than ours, which is one of my frustrations when a celebrity wants to talk about their experience, but just keep it about themselves because it's not relatable.
Yeah.
So the two family caregivers that were part of this preview were both young men caring for their spouses. They both
Mm,
had one child. One family caregiver had a young son, probably still 4 or 5 years old, and the other one had a son who was graduating from 8th grade and starting high school. And they talked to him and interviewed him about what the experience is like for him.
mm,
And in that same family system, they showed the wife coming back from the hospital and her husband going through their medical bills. And the husband saying, I took FMLA. My job is protected, but I didn't get any money while I was on FMLA, so these bills are going to have to wait. It was pretty powerful.
wow. Wow.
And I would say what was interesting too is you can see the diversity in the family situations that I thought was really interesting. So we think of what does a family caregiver look like? And
Mm,
it really opened your eyes to what caregiving looks like, which is
yeah.
very diverse. And that I thought was really helpful. So you don't automatically assume a family caregiver is a woman in her 40s. And then
Mhm.
what we do is we create products and services that serve a woman in her 40s. But that's not helpful to all the other family caregivers who are not necessarily identifying as that particular situation.
Mhm.
The other piece of it is a woman in her 40s who's raising children. And if I don't have children, so sometimes I felt like I get that, but I really would wish that we would also talk about what is it like to run a small business while you're caring for family members.
Yeah. Or, the sandwich generation factor or being an only child, those are two that were very prevalent for me. So, um, yeah, there's just so many different dynamics. Um, but like, if I'm looking at my generation, it's definitely sandwich generation and, the only child factor is big for. But then, there's a whole new set of challenges when you have siblings involved. So it's, that should be shown as well.
So here's what's interesting. I just read research this week that says it really is harder when you're an only child.
Oh,
It wasn't
interesting.
just in your imagination. It really
Yeah,
is harder.
yeah. Trying to get the thing right.
We're always adjusting, right? Before we started, I was telling Jennifer in the audience that I fluff my hair too much, and that is a indication of my anxiety. That's how my anxiety shows up.
Yeah, always
Okay,
something.
always something. Should we start?
Sure.
So we've got a couple questions today. We'll see if we can get through the first one. This is a long letter. And again, this was a question posed online. And wow, I think it's prevalent.
Yes.
Yes, I wish okay, so here we go. Here's the question. I am one of three sisters. My youngest sister and I found out that our oldest sister has been manipulating our father and telling him lies about my other sister and me. My other sister and I left home and did as best we could financially. Our oldest sister was a financial drain on our father, and he bailed her out. but he was also coddled, enabled, and defended her mean and neurotic behavior. Our father has dementia, and it's worse now than we thought. He hasn't been formally diagnosed as he doesn't trust doctors. We found out that our oldest sister made our father sign a document. Ooh. He told us numerous times that he didn't know what it was. He hadn't spoken to the lawyer that drew up the documents, nor did he even request them. The oldest sister just made our father sign these documents that leave her everything that he owns, and I mean everything, two properties, a car, bank accounts. It's a joint tenancy with just the two of them on the document. The sister never told my other sister and I anything. We found out because our father went to our other sister, very upset because he realized he had signed these documents and didn't know what they were. Obviously, our father wants us to have no hard feelings between us. We are two responsible siblings and have a good relationship with most everyone in the family, including our mom when she was alive. The other toxic sister had many conflicts with our mom. Our oldest sister has too much control over our father now that he's saying this is what he wants, and that our oldest sister was unfairly treated when our mother died and wasn't left anything, so he wants to help her out more. Ooh. She seems to forget that she treated our mom horribly. When the time comes, my sister and I would be still fine with liquidating the assets and dividing them equally 3 ways between the three sisters. But our older sister just wants everything. She has brought chaos and stress into everyone's life. Oh, what a terrible situation. Heartbreaking, devastating, stressful, overwhelming, shocking. Okay, Jennifer, let's figure this out. What's
Well,
your
it's probably
first?
more common than we realize, you know?
Yes, I would agree with you.
So, I mean, just to start, uh, I feel like this is a classic case of financial abuse. And she cannot handle this alone. This is a situation where you bring in adult protective services or an ombudsman, depending on where dad is living. I think he's living in the home. Um, Possibly the police. I mean, I don't know down the road if that's what happens, but the courts. I mean, there's so much going on here, and because everything's already been signed, it makes it even more difficult. The other thing is that's not really mentioned here, but the attorney that facilitated this needs to be held accountable as well because they had to know. They had to know this was not on the up and up. Um, so my initial thoughts are she needs help to handle this, especially because that relationship is so toxic and really that older sister, you don't know what she's capable of at this point because she's already done so much damage. So um, gosh, I think it's amazingly generous that they're still willing to liquidate the assets and share. Um, so those are my just initial thoughts. How about you?
Yeah, I would say run to an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
run to an elder law attorney, and lay it all out. And
Yeah.
then really think through. I think that's interesting is run to the elder law attorney, call adult protective services.
Mhm.
This is a financial abuse situation, but we don't know what else might
Yeah.
be going on. And that's a huge cause for concern. Absolutely call adult protective services. They'll make a visit to the home. They'll interview the father, and the father might say, everything's fine, I have no problems. And then what can they do? But it's very important to call and
Mhm.
document that you called.
Yeah.
And then follow the guidelines of the elder law attorney. And I completely agree with you about the other attorney. There's something
Mhm.
very shady about that, and that's not good. And the other thing that's just awful is that this is creating a lot of stress for the dad.
No.
It's awful to think that someone who is in the last few years of life has to deal with this dysfunction, which is really harmful.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm thinking he could be, I know that he doesn't trust doctors, but like there are people that could come in and help diagnose and get him services, even hospice or, you know, but that will never happen in this situation as it stands. Um, and I think part of the reason this did happen is because there isn't anyone else watching,
Yeah, yeah,
helping.
yeah. Which is understandable. You kind of feel like, oh, everything
Mhm.
is fine until there's like this horrible crisis. And I
Yeah.
do think it's worth reaching out to a service that makes house calls with nurse practitioners. Typically, they call themselves, uh, they often lead you to believe it's actually a doctor that's making house calls, but typically it's a nurse practitioner. We use that with my dad. It was very helpful. That way you don't have to go into a doctor's office. It's a nurse practitioner coming to the home, and she can certainly do some preliminary testing
Mhm.
to give a preliminary diagnosis
Yeah.
around what is going on. And the other thing is, when that nurse practitioner comes in and does the assessment, she can start making referrals to get help. Perhaps it's getting initial services through home health, which is covered through Medicare, very short term, but that's help. And perhaps she can also make the referral to palliative care. So we had an at-home physician service and palliative care for my dad. And that was really helpful, especially as you're trying to figure out how close to end of life are we?
Yeah.
When do we think about hospice services? I completely agree with you that it is more help around this financial situation, but it's also more help around the care that he might need.
Yeah. Because that's sort of lost in this. And the other thing with the diagnosis, I think that will be so important is, was he able to, you know, uh, sign this, you know, was he of sound mind
Yeah,
when he did this, which
yeah,
it doesn't sound like he was. Um, and that's going to need to be proven in some way.
right.
And she's probably not pursuing a diagnosis because of that. I mean, I could
Oh, right.
assume.
Yeah, the oldest sister. Yeah, dad's
Yeah.
fine. He was fine when he signed this
Yep.
document. There is no
Yeah.
problem. You are spot on about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't need a diagnosis. He's fine.
Hmm.
If you can get an at-home physician service to start getting referrals, in addition to home health, you could think about a referral to an adult day program, for instance. So he's
Hmm.
getting out of the house, he's socializing, and again, there's more eyes on him,
Yeah.
which could be really helpful. I think this is a devastating situation for so many reasons because you really start to think about, oh my gosh, this is a crisis on so many levels.
Yeah.
We had a similar question, I think it was last month, and we started thinking about boundaries. And I think the two sisters can really think about boundaries to set with the oldest sister. And it
Hmm.
could include her interaction with their dad. If, for instance, it is when they meet with the elder law attorney and he says, gosh, this really looks like financial abuse, I think there could be a reason then to alert the police for a restraining order that
Hmm.
she's not allowed to actually interact with the dad. Now, I get that this opens up a huge can of worms.
Yeah.
In many ways, there's no coming back from this with the sisters' relationships. However, if that's what protects the dad, that's something to consider.
Yeah. And we don't know how close he is to the end of his life either. Um, if he's got 10 more years, this could be resolved and something could come of it. If he's got 6 months, this is like real tough to handle. I mean, it's gonna be tough either way. But yeah.
And here's the other piece of it. So she has access to his money, and they probably have no idea how much money she has already spent.
Yeah.
He is spending his money that he needs for care. That is awful. And that's going to create a further crisis, which is why it's like immediately
Hmm.
start on this and immediately reach out to the elder law attorney. I think it's so
Yeah.
smart to think about who can you reach out to that's not the oldest sister to get all your ducks in a row and then
Yeah.
really work toward this is what we do first, second, third. Oh, wow. And you'd hate to think that she has taken money from him that's his for his care, but clearly that was the intent.
Yeah. It's very sad.
I had a conversation with a family caregiver recently. I don't know if I mentioned this one, where she actually had something very similar happen to her in her family.
Mm.
The sister that had access to her mom's assets, and the sister spent her mom's money on herself and her children. The mom was buying cars,
Oh gosh.
paying for living expenses, paying for rent and mortgages for the other sister and her family.
Mm.
It was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I just want to mention too that I would say that the oldest sister clearly is not well.
Yes.
There is some underlying situation or issue. And because she is not well, it would be very difficult to have a rational conversation with her. And if there is a time when there has to be a conversation with the older sister, I would say it's important to have others there who can protect the other two sisters and protect the dad if the dad is a part of the conversation.
Yeah, because I mean, can only imagine how that would go down just without anyone,
Right,
helping.
right. And because the older sister clearly cannot tell the truth, you'd also want to have someone who witnesses the interactions, who can
Mhm.
document what has happened, who said what, and then it becomes fact. It's not subjective retelling of a situation. It is someone objectively outside the family system document the conversation to say this is what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
So
that's
I
really smart.
yeah, I would encourage them not to have a conversation alone with the sister,
Mhm.
to always have someone with them.
Yeah, because again, you have no idea what she's capable of, and who's to say she wouldn't accuse them of something? You
Exactly.
know?
Right. Yeah, she is not well, and so it's important to keep that top of mind.
Yeah.
She is not well. We can't have a conversation with just her. We have to
Mhm.
protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we break this down, it's run to the elder law attorney, call adult protective services,
Mhm.
and then follow the guidance of the elder law attorney and adult protective services.
Yes. And document everything.
Yes, that's also a great reminder. Document everything,
Mhm.
everything, everything. Okay, should we tackle the second question?
Uh, quickly.
Yes, okay. I am sometimes overwhelmed by my doubts and self-judgments. I find myself thinking I should do more and do more every day and do more better. The negative self-talk can really ruin my day. What can I do?
The first thing I thought of when I read this was something I like to do sometimes where, well, first of all, this is completely normal. We all feel this way. Um, but, there's the facts of your situation, and then there's a story you tell about them. And the story is often feeling very real. Um, we think that all of our thoughts about something are true, and usually they're very much not true. So I like to write down sort of what I'm feeling in the moment, how I'm overwhelmed, all of the awful things that are in my brain. And then I like to circle the facts on paper in another color, and it's usually like two sentences out of the whole paper. And then it's like this visual reminder of, oh, okay, this is what my brain is doing right now. And then even powerfully crossing out everything else because here's what's true, these two sentences. The rest I'm creating or someone else is creating and giving. Um, that has been very powerful for me in helping turn that around.
That's a strategy for a coaching call. That is beautiful.
Mhm.
I love that. I'll just mention one thing. I had a client that brought this challenge to a coaching call. And what was interesting is she was taking time to rest by watching TV, which was a very new activity for her. And so she was judging herself for watching TV. And the strategy we came up with was she is a very religious person, and she was really judging herself as if she was unlovable for watching TV. And so what we decided she can tell herself is God loves me while I'm doing something and while I am resting while
Mhm.
watching TV.
I love that.
And then honestly, she started crying once we figured that out because she realized how much she was judging herself and believing she was not worthy of love unless she was doing all this stuff. Isn't that just like a terrible road to travel with your thoughts? God
Yeah,
loves us. And if you feel like, I'm not really into the God thing, you can say, I am loved. I am loved when I do and help and support. And I am loved when I take a rest and take a break and relax. I am
yeah.
loved. We don't have to chase the love. We don't have to earn the love. We don't have to prove that we are lovable. We are loved.
I know so many people who struggle with resting. It's
Yes.
if I'm not doing something, I'm lazy. It's like there is more on the spectrum of lazy to productive, like it doesn't have to be one or the other.
It's the or.
It
Yeah.
really is, yeah, prevalent with a lot of people.
And it's really wonderful to embrace the and.
Hmm.
I am
Yeah,
loved as I'm doing. I'm loved as I'm being. I am
yeah,
loved as I am resting.
yeah.
Okay, this was great. Jennifer, for our viewers and listeners who'd like to be in touch with you, including doing that fabulous technique that you talked about with
Yes.
thoughts, how can they reach out to you?
The easiest way is just my website, which is jenniferrichey.com. And there's a place on there to contact me.
And you can schedule a complimentary call with Jennifer
Absolutely.
to figure out how she can help. Okay.
Mhm.
Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to our live audience for being here. We so appreciate it. Always great to connect with you guys. And again, we meet on the first Friday of every month at noon Eastern time. We post the archive on our YouTube channel and on caringourway.com. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.